This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
So Dave, welcome to the show, man. Welcome back. How are you?
Oh, Derek, it's always a privilege. I mean, I'm a little heavy-hearted this week, but a privilege nonetheless.
well, yeah, it's been a week. It's been a week, and it's not a good week for those involved. But sure, look, it is what it is. So I guess the main point to talk about is what happened this week with the releases. It was like the biggest week. The biggest set of releases they've had ever. So let's talk about it. Let's run through the list. You have it in front of you there, right?
I do have it in front of me. Yeah, this is the biggest set of releases I can remember since the annual spring cleanings that they stopped doing back in like 2009. I mean, this is, wow. Some of these aren't surprises, I guess. And I know you and I have discussed a take, but I just want to run down the list so that people kind of can take it in.
Yeah.
Just to kick things off here. We've got Kurt Angle, Drake Maverick, Carl Anderson, EC3, Leo Rush, Kurt Hawkins, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Luke Gallows, Aiden English, Sarah Logan, Mike Chioda, Rowan, Epico Primo, Mike Canales, Maria Canales, Zack Ryder, No Way Jose, Rusev, Alexander Jaksic, I don't even know who that is. These must be NXT guys. Diana Perrazzo and Cassius Ohno, Chris Hero, of course, as many would know him.
Like a lot of talent released were guys involved in they weren't just like WWE talents, they were also WWE trainers as well. But some of the names that we don't know, they're like NXT guys who weren't even brought up to the NXT yet. They're still just like projects. So there's a few of them. Like so most of the names I knew, but a few of them I actually had to look it up. Who was the most surprising one for you?
For me, I thought the most surprising had to be the members. Even though I'm not a fan of calling them the OC, but it had to be the Bullet Club members. That's why it's my background this week. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. And I'll say it's most surprising because has there ever been anybody released from the WWE after being involved in the main event of WrestleMania
I don't
previous
think so.
week?
I don't think so. I think this is one of the first times that's ever actually happened. And it's kind of weird too, right? It's like, what went wrong? Like, they just signed a 5-year deal like last month.
Exactly. They signed a huge deal. I don't know how that works with the WWE because, you know, they keep their contracts quiet. So it's not like sports where we know, oh, they have to take this kind of salary hit cap. And I'm sure with the independent contractor thing that there's lots of smarmy ways the WWE can get around it. But, man, I think out of everybody, that one hit me hard because a lot of guys on this list are people who I go, yeah, how come we didn't fire them years ago? If I'm involved in this process. But they were involved in WrestleMania. The WWE, we might get to this story, I'm sure, because it's basically the only other big story that happened in wrestling this week, is that the WWE was declared an essential business by Florida, which has some interesting political ramifications. You live in the U.S. and you are familiar, of course, with the connections between the Trump and the McMahon family.
And this is the same. This is like within a week of the XFL being like bankrupt as well.
XFL going bankrupt for $120 million. So from what I understand, we know Linda McMahon was the small business administrator for the U.S. under the Trump administration.
Hmm.
And Vince was supposedly put in charge of, well, he was brought on as an advisor for the reopening of entertainment businesses, particularly in the Florida area.
Yeah.
And then the WWE was magically declared an essential business.
Well, the wording is not just WWE; it's all sports, all national sports with like a national TV deal. So AEW, UFC, technically any sport could do this, but it just
Right.
happens to be a case that they're the only ones running. So like if even the NFL or basketball, if they could get together a smaller team fitting in those guidelines, they could still do it, you know. But it was very beneficial towards WWE, but not everyone. Like WWE doesn't just benefit from this.
Yes, and that's something that's very important to note, because a lot of the people that attacked this immediately went to, which is kind of how I tried to set it up so that people would have that initial gut reaction of, oh, what's the conspiracy here? But this wasn't just the WWE that Vince was advising on. He is somebody who runs one of the most successful touring entertainment brands of the last 25 years.
Exactly.
So he is somebody who should have a voice in this. And then the argument is, well, shouldn't scientists be deciding this, which is a whole other thing, an argument that I had this week. But the point is, this isn't just WWE centric, and I don't really think Vince is a bad guy to have in this particular role.
Not in this particular role. It's funny though. It's in the week that he went bankrupt. Like
Right.
when it was going bankrupt, it's like maybe not. It's just not a good look, Vince. Right now, it's not a good look. You know,
it's not.
I just
or is it the best time? Is this the best time to be the phoenix and rise from the ashes? I don't know.
Like it's without getting too much into it, because you know we're not medical experts, of course. But I can just say from
speak for yourself, Irish boy.
Fair. From the Irish perspective, though, we're still on lockdown. Like we're still on heavy lockdown. But what's interesting about it is May 9th is when all this is supposed to lift and we're supposed to go back to some kind of normality. But, like, we don't know what that is yet, you know, and that could change. You know, we could be sitting here, you know, that week and it continues on until the end of May. It does look like it's going to be, opening up around that time, but our cases were significantly lower than what you guys went through and still going through. According to our unelected politicians, because they literally are. We didn't elect them; they just never left. It's
I like that we're both getting in the political jabs this week.
Yeah, well, it's true. We had an election, and then there was no government, and then they just never left, and they just stayed there. And it's like, okay, that seems like it's illegal, but all right. And yeah, so that's where we are now. And according to them, they said, right, well, the curve is flattened, so that's good. And we had, like, I think it was 700 new cases today, but a lot of that is European backlog. So the testing,
Right.
for anyone who doesn't know, you're tested, but you got to wait some time for the result to come back. So it's not just, oh, hey, here's your result, like, straight out the bat. Apparently you had, like, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of cases in Germany to be processed. So that's come true, but now the backlog is gone. So I would expect our numbers to be very, very low in the next couple of days, because, you know, the people getting the numbers back would not be from that backlog. But for example, I know somebody whose friend got tested, right? And by the time they got their result back, they're like, oh, hey, by the way, you had it, but you're fine now. It's like, what? that seems like it's wrong, but okay. So yeah, look, we're still inside this unknown, but the Irish economy, I don't know what's going to happen. It's getting kind of scary. But, you know, at least what Trump is doing, and in the US, it seems to be like they're taking steps to try and open up some things so your economy doesn't completely collapse. So I'm like, okay, I get it, but it's also like, will this backfire? It might, but you just don't know.
Well,
right?
it's like you're saying, we're not medical experts, so take everything we say with a shot of gin brandy, because that's probably as useful as anything that we could say.
Look, when it comes to computers or wrestling, yeah, we know some stuff. But when it comes to other stuff, yeah, maybe not. But,
Yeah, originally our so-called lockdown, we hoped would end April 12th. That
right.
got bumped back to April 30th. It's now been extended to May 15th to where I
Mm,
live. So we're actually in this very odd cycle of um, it'll be fascinating to read the psychological studies that come out 10 years from now about people going through this
yeah.
uncertainty of we're being told even by scientists, okay, we'll try and lift it now, and then oh wait, but no, you have to stay confined to your homes quasi legally for longer. And how are we,
Yeah.
do we open the country, do we not open the
Well,
country?
they've come out and said there, Dave, that it is a form of PTSD that everyone is going through because of
Yeah,
this constant unknowing. And I think that's the thing that's really starting to kind of grate on people. Personally, it's like, when is this going to be over? You know, you just don't
right,
know. And yeah, I know there was probably some worse things you could go through, but it's like everything else in life. You're like the uncertainty of what's going on. Like, there are some definites. I don't think anyone's going to go to a gig anytime soon.
right,
I don't think
right.
anyone's going to go to a large sporting event anytime soon.
Mm.
And those are definites that we can kind of say, yeah, look, this is more than likely what's going to happen. Other things, we don't know. It's,
No,
as I said, it's getting used to this is very weird. And it seems like now having UFC and WWE heads involved in this kind of process, well, that's what's going to shape entertainment. So I can understand the continuity because they're the only ones who've really been running through this because the rest of them haven't.
right. No, they certainly haven't. And what is it they say? That the sensation of the loss of time, of whether it's a second turning into a minute, into an hour, into a day, into months, that is really the most psychological form of torture that exists
Yeah, like
when it
solitary
comes to
confinement.
captives and things like that. And that's
Yeah,
kind of what you're alluding to with this PTSD that we're going through
yeah,
right now. I know there was a great author. Well, I don't know if she was a great author, but I know there's a great book written about PTSD from children affected by Katrina, which was a hurricane that hit in the U.S. back in 2006, I believe, kind of wiped out New Orleans. And
yeah.
it talked about how the kids from that time period, they're still going through
Oh, I believe it.
immense traumatic stuff.
I believe it.
So that's could be what we're looking at. This could be just a way for us to get used to being quarantined to our homes. I don't know. I'd like to
I
hope that's not where this is
I
going.
hope not. Like, it's there's talk of conspiracy theory show on this network. Might get into that at some point. But actually, isn't it weird that there's like a massive overlap of conspiracy and like wrestling as far as like interest, where that's a huge big overlap, and
Oh,
particularly
it's a huge overlap.
it's unreal. So we might have to get into that at some point when it's not so fresh.
Yeah, yes. When it's not so
When we're not living
yeah,
through
we
it.
know the reasons for not talking about it right now.
Exactly. But look, anyone who's listening, thanks for joining us on Phoenix FM. Thanks for joining us on Twitch or on YouTube. A lot of good traffic on YouTube, so guys, thanks for that. We're finally starting to figure out how this video format works. So audio and all, it's good now. It should be. So thanks for bearing with us. Kind of had to learn how to do this all on the fly, but we're finally getting there. Um, so yeah, look, we do have a lot to get through this week. When we started doing the show and stuff was closing down, I'm like, wrestling's going to have nothing to talk about because everything's going to shut down, and it just gets it just gets busier and busier. So now I do want to say we were going to talk about Dark Side of the Ring, but you haven't seen it.
I have not seen all of it, and I want to really be educated on
Yeah,
it more when we talk about it, so I can go in depth.
and I would say I watched all of it. I would recommend it to anybody who has an interest in watching like really, really new takes on wrestling. Like actually, the way it's shot makes it very enjoyable. Not the Chris Benoit one. The Chris Benoit one is devastating, but the others less so. For different reasons, because it's not so raw. Again, it's like stuff that happened 40 years ago. You're like, oh yeah, sure, that's fine. And there's horrible stuff that happens there too, but you're like, yeah, I wasn't there, so it doesn't really, it's not as bad as what happened, watching people cry and stuff. But
True.
I would say it's a great little series. The one I really like, the weakest one is the Montreal Screwjob. That's the weakest one. And we will talk about it in more detail next week when you had a chance to see it. But I would say the weakest one is the Montreal Screwjob one. A weird one that really kind of put a new light on thing is the Randy Savage one, with him and Elizabeth.
Oh,
It's very weird.
okay.
It's very weird. It puts a new spin on loads of things that I, as not a macho man like super fan, but somebody who never disliked him, great work and stuff, but having that new kind of insight into how controlling he was, it's like, well, man, this is kind of weird, right? But,
Oh, so you had I haven't seen it yet, and y'all should watch it, catch up with us, and then we'll be able to discuss it next week, and then we'll all be on the same page.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming they get into the whole. He would keep her locked in the locker room, not let anybody get into. Oh, yeah.
I didn't notice. Yeah, and it was a whole new kind of thing. I'm like, oh man, there was some serious stuff going on here, right? So yeah, look, guys, watch it. As Dave said, get educated on it. We'll come back next week and we'll break all the way down. Like, it's still ongoing, but there's like 3 or 4 episodes left. But we'll get into those as they're happening. But watch it. You can find it online. It's honest to God not hard to find. And it's worth your time. They're not long either, like 40 minutes, so it's very good. I will say it's so far I've really enjoyed is the wrong word, but it's the only word I have right now. So it's like it's not a fun experience, but it's an educational experience, which kind of the same thing. But
we are the Wrestling Rewind, so we might as well talk about some things from the past. But this news that came out this week, it's just so current events, so needs to be covered, and definitely with our spin that we can't let it go by.
No, definitely not. Like it's weird. Like the releases, to put the releases into perspective, they're so vast that mainstream media is covering it. I've never seen that where mainstream media is picking up wrestling and it's probably for 2 reasons. One, there's nothing else happening in the sporting world. Like at the moment now in the UK and Ireland, the Premier League. You know what the Premier League is?
Yes, of course. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Chelsea. I love that defensive strategy of we don't need to score points. You just can't score on us. That was my FIFA team.
Defense. Well, here's the thing. At the moment now, stars from that from each team are playing against each other in esports, and that's been shown on like television as football. You're like, what is this? This is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
You brought this up last week, and you asked me about that.
Now it's hitting here.
Yes.
Now it's hitting here, and it's so weird to see because it's just like this isn't what's supposed to happen. This is, no offense, this is an American thing. This is it's weird because it's so American. You're just like, oh my god, dude, no, like, but it's weird now. We saw on Irish on Irish news, and it's like, that's wild, man. Like, I'm sorry. And my first thing is, why are they getting paid 7 or 8 million? It's like, no, you get paid like 20 quid and that's it, because you're not doing anything. You're just playing Xbox. I don't
know if this one made it over to you guys, but one of the biggest things, one of the most successul ones going on in the US right now is NASCAR is doing an iRacing series.
Yeah.
One of the biggest, obviously I'm not laughing because, it's not a good thing, but one of the biggest sports news stories to come out this week is that one of the drivers during the iRacing used a racial slur and thus was suspended and lost sponsors and all this stuff. And it's just like, what is happening in this world where now you're being penalized for your video game smack talk, which I know that kind of language is never acceptable, but anybody who's ever been on Xbox Live or the PlayStation Network.
Yeah, exactly. It happens. Like if you haven't been called at least 3 or 4 racial slurs by being on Xbox, you haven't been on Xbox.
You've never been on.
But no,
I remember the days when the Halo lobbies used to be open and then changed them.
That was wild. See, we lived through the Wild West of the internet. That's the thing.
We did.
And now people are being exposed to the internet and stuff that is still in the Wild West. And you're like, there's a reason I don't play online games with a headset, because I don't want the 14-year-old calling me names. It's just.
But I remember being that 14-year-old.
Exactly. It's just like, I just don't need that. But
I remember the days when 4chan did good things.
4chan still does good things. They're just too busy hacking people now to do anything and messing with iPhone users.
Mess with iPhone.
So it's just like
I did read if you put it in the microwave, it dries that out. I saw a great ad for it, so I had to.
Oh man, but like there's another guy actually. I don't know if you watch Internet Today. Internet Day is a great show, a great channel on YouTube, and they do Tech News Days. And one of their stories was not only on the guy who used the racial slur, but another guy who rage quit. He's like, "Oh, screw you, nerds!" And like he lost all the sponsors, and it's just like,
Oh, no.
it's just hilarious because from their perspective, that is the product now. So like that is so he didn't do his job, and I'm just like, man, you could have just kept it cool for a little bit longer and not rage quit. But here's the thing: like I know esports have been huge, and on Twitch we're on an esports platform mainly, but it's just weird to see that it's a thing now.
Yes.
It is the thing now. It's not just something that you do and people are like, well, oh yeah, there's some kid and he gets 15 million for playing Fortnite. It's like, no, this is just sport now. If you're not WWE or UFC.
There's even colleges, and this is pre-pandemic, that's been going on. There's even colleges that now give out scholarships for esports in the U.S. There's plenty of tournaments that go on from I'm sure there's people who like Overwatch, but Overwatch and other of the big esports, I'm not a fan of it, mainly because I lost some internet friends over it.
Oh,
it's a bit too competitive.
Yeah.
But I guess that goes into rage quitting, right? Who hasn't played? I mean, has there ever been someone who would consider themselves a gamer who at one point in their life, even if it was Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis, that didn't rage quit?
Look, you have to. It's just what happens sometimes. And I have to say, like, I'm trying to play Deus Ex, the new one, at the moment. And it has the same problem that the first one had, like the first Human Evolution, or Human Revolution, I think that's the name of it, where it has a horrible hub at the beginning. And it's so confusing, you know where to go. And I'm just like, it has the exact same problem of why I hated the game in the first place, and then got over it, and I love it, and it's one of the best games ever made, except for that stupid hub that they brought back. So yeah, rage quitting is a thing, or if you're playing competitively and, you end up getting shot by a camper, it's like, awesome. How am I supposed
to that's why I stopped playing Call of Duty. Those kill to death times are absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
But what was I playing recently that you probably did? Oh my gosh. Jedi Fallen Order has some of the oddest spikes in difficulty in any video game I've played. Like, I got stuck playing this Paladin or something in like a 2-hour loop where I just could not get past it, and it drove me nuts to the point that I finally lowered the difficulty and then beat it in 20 seconds and I didn't feel good at all. I didn't know what to do.
I collect Star Wars games. Obviously. But I hate that game. I traded that game in. I hate it. Yeah. I hate it because it has everything that I don't like in games. Like, I don't like the Uncharted kind of thing. Yeah. And then those difficulty spikes that aren't necessary. And also I hate the main character. So I'm like, there's nothing in this for me. But I totally get what you mean. Like, I was trying to play it and I got about 6 hours in or something. And I was just like, okay, you know what? No. Just no. I'm gonna make sure I get my money back on this. But here's the funny thing, right? I traded it in. I got €100 and something euro voucher, and the place that I was voucher for is Stop Trading for now.
Of course.
And it's just like, awesome. This is cool. Please come back because I want my money. But it's not. It's just like nobody saw the pandemic coming. So.
Yeah, I would have liked if we had gotten kind of you're welcome to the wrestling. We're really talking about Star Wars video game section of the show. I would have liked if we could have created our own character. I get that it was character driven. It was weird for me because I'm a fan of the show Shameless, which I know you have a UK version of. Yeah, we also have an American version.
Yeah.
And he's one of the main characters from the show. So at any point, I'm expecting him to announce that he's gay and go off into the military, which doesn't happen in Jedi Fallen Order. But so that was bizarre.
To be fair, if it did happen, it would probably be more interesting than anything else that happened in that game. So, but here's the thing. Speaking of that point, to get it back to wrestling, speaking of that point where you're...
Wait, before you do, because that's way too much. You're being way too reasonable. I want to point out the mechanic thing. It had too many Tomb Raider-like mechanics for me.
Yeah, and that's what I hate.
Driving me crazy.
Yeah, that's what I hate about it. It's the same thing even in the Spider-Man game when you're playing it and it just turns into Uncharted and you're like, I hate Uncharted. Please stop making all your games Uncharted. It's like, it's infuriating.
Yes. But now we can talk about what y'all actually want to talk about.
Well, it's related. It's bringing it back to wrestling. But in 2K20, right, and this kind of started in 2K19. I always like to create my own character and take them through season mode.
Yes.
2019 kind of did that, but then you were playing as the character Buzz, so no matter who you were, they were just going to call you Buzz, and it kind of fit in. You're like, okay, it's a dumb nickname, but whatever. 2K20, it's not. It's literally just you are these two characters, Red and Trey, and that's it. No matter what you call them, no matter how they look, that's what it got to the point where after like an hour or two, I'm like, I just changed their names to Trey and Red because I'm like, there's no point. They're just those characters now. And look, the story is quite interesting, I must say. Like, it's the best thing about the game, but it's also funny at the same time. And you're like, this means nothing. You know, this whole thing is just pointless. But yeah, what I will say is,
I had sworn off WWE video games after WWE 2K17,
right?
because I said these games it's turning into the Madden thing. We're just getting a roster
It
update.
is.
They're not doing much for the engine, though I know that has been improved because they switched engines recently. However,
Hasn't been improved.
But however, then they released 2K19, which had AJ Styles on the cover.
And did you like it?
I like the cover. And but I mean, I knew that had to be his lifelong dream. AJ is one of the biggest gamers that exists in professional wrestling, and to have his face on not just the TNA game, but on
But no, like I get your point. You know, it's like it was a dream to be on the WWE game for him because he's a huge gamer, and we'll get into the comments he made on his Mixer account like in a few minutes. But what I will say is, 2K19 is pretty decent, and anyone who wants to play 2K19, do now. And get all your stuff from the community creations because the servers are closing down soon. But 2K20, man, that's the real peach.
What's the real peach? You keep telling me how clunky and how terrible it is.
But it has this storyline where you just need to see it. And here's the thing. If you don't want to pay full price and you have a decent computer, go over to Humble Bundle right now and you're able to get the whole lot and a bunch of games. Actually, anyone who's listening, Spec Ops The Line is $1 or €1 in that bundle. Buy Spec Ops The Line even if you don't want anything else. But 2K 2020 is there and you can get it for like $17, so you can get like 12 games or something. I would say get it and just play through the story mode, Dave. It's you of anybody would love it. It's the most you thing in the world. You'll really enjoy it. And you know, anyone who I've said it to is just like, yeah, man, it's such a bad game. But that story mode, they really went for it, you know. But 2K, it looks like 2K 2021 is cancelled. So, finito, done.
Well, that might actually be a good thing in terms of, like we were talking about, but the creation engines always go down, so you don't get to carry things over.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
maybe we'll get a DLC update with new or maybe they'll take people out. I don't know. What they'll do.
Well, according to their contracts, the reason why 2K 2020 is broken is because they had to release a WWE game. That's part of the contract. You have to release one every year. It's part of the deal. But what happened was they released a broken game this time around because THQ pulled out and all that kind of stuff. But what they're talking about doing now is not a sim game, so not what we would normally expect. So something else. So maybe like an arcade game. Here's the thing: all they have to do, and this is what people have been saying for years, just release a general manager mode. And that's all I need to do. So you remember General Manager from SmackDown vs. Raw?
Sure. And I certainly remember it from the FIFA series.
Yeah, like just release that, like WWE General Manager. There you go.
Oh yeah, you could play as like Eric Bischoff, right?
Yeah, and Stephanie, and then Tommy Dreamer and stuff. Yeah, like just do that. And it's like, okay, one, the resources now are going to be very, very small, but also, you know, people have wanted this for ages. So I just don't understand what they're waiting for. This is their opportunity to kind of do that, you know, and.
If they have to release a game every year, it makes sense. I mean, I'm just tired of seeing all the tiny little microtransactions. I think it's nonsense to pay $5 to change the color of my coat. Makes no sense. Like, it's happening in all of these 2K games, and it needs to be stopped.
I've gone back to 2K 17, and it's before they really start gouging you, where you can just make
Lesnar, right?
It's Lesnar, yeah, and they really start gouging it. But like the most recent one, 2K19, to unlock a choke slam, you got to pay this much and this much. And you're like, you know what? I'm not doing that. So, but I think in this point now with the 2K games, they have the opportunity to do something a little bit different because if they don't, they're screwed. So why not? Just go for it. You know, just push it out there and I think not only me, but everybody would really enjoy something a bit different. And, the actual work on that would be significantly less than building a whole new engine, a whole new game. And they could just, in the background, they could actually just kind of fix the engine that they have. Another aside from this, there's a wrestling game called Wrestling Revolution.
Yes, I've heard good things.
They've released a bunch of mods for it now, and one of the most recent mod is for the WWE Money in the Bank gimmick. Have you heard what WWE Money in the Bank is going to be this year?
In a group text, I got a text from somebody that said Dana Brooke qualified. That's as much as I know about Money in the Bank this year.
Okay, so I'm really glad to hear that. So WWE Money in the Bank is still happening, right? But it's not happening in Baltimore in an arena like they were planning.
Right. Is the Performance Center ceiling high enough?
Oh, that's it. The actual Money in the Bank matches have been taped already, and they took place in WWE headquarters, where the match starts at the bottom of the Titan Towers, and the briefcases are on the ceiling.
For those of you who are only listening on audio and you're getting this through Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, whatever, I want you to know my jaw is open right now.
You can't
I am
believe it.
in awe. Are you serious?
I'm deadly serious.
Is this one of those, Dave, I know you didn't watch Raw this week?
No, this is a real thing. I thought this was a joke too. But no, so they announced this, and
no, this is like those old WCW matches where you'd start in the bottom of the cage and you'd have to go to each layer and there'd be like a taser on top or something.
Literally, like it's like when Hulk Hogan threw Big Show off the top of the building. That's probably what's going to happen. But no, literally, it's called climbing the corporate ladder. That's what they're terming this.
I love this company. I love wrestling. This is why I love wrestling. Because when you say, hey, what are you going to do? They're like, guys, listen, we have no ideas. We're going to let the interns just book it for the next couple months, okay?
See, here's the thing, though. I'm okay with this. I think this is great.
I love it.
I think it's brilliant. It's like, well, okay, there are two reasons, right? They wanted to move headquarters for a while, right? Now they can't because obviously they had to fire a bunch of people to save money and all that kind of stuff, and most of the money was saved on not moving headquarters. Titan Towers is going to be destroyed after this. So I'm like, what are you going to well, you've got to put yourself in the corner here. So it's like...
Wait. In like IRL, like Titan Towers, they're moving from Stanford down to Florida?
No, I don't know where I think they're still staying in Connecticut, but they were moving building. They were getting a bigger building for the people they had, but they fired everybody. So they might need them. But this is a lot of the savings they're saving something like $4 million a month. So they were going to, and most of the savings was from not moving headquarters.
Wow.
So my thing is, I'm like, were they planning to do this all along before releasing people, or is it just something that came up out of nowhere after releasing people?
Well, my heart, my soul, and my spirit like to believe that the WWE, despite popular belief nowadays, actually still does do long-term booking, and that this has been in the works for many a year. Not only did they plan the virus, this was the ultimate goal.
They created it and released it so they could do this.
they will, in fact, be demolishing the building at the end of Money in the Bank. That will be the finale.
Oh my God! You know what?
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible. This world just gets more and more bizarre as we're going on. Like, if you had said to me at the beginning of the year, "Hey, look, Money in the Bank is going to take place in WWE headquarters," I'd been like, "What? No? Did Vince die? Is that what happened?" You know, it's like, no, it's because it makes no sense. It's crazy. Here's the thing: do you remember the old ad from the Super Bowl that used to be at the beginning of WWE VHS tapes?
For Super Brawl.
For Super Bowl, the Super Bowl ad, where it started off with they were going through the offices and they were wrestling.
Right. Yes, I do. I think Sports Center did a thing like that as well. Yeah.
They did. And this was from, I think they did this in 1998. And it was like Austin was walking through and he was hitting people with chairs and Mankind was there. And it was great. And then it ended with Vince standing outside everywhere explodes. He's like, get it? You know, that whole ad, I didn't even know that was in the Super Bowl because my awareness wasn't that Super Bowl wasn't really a thing that had ads because I never saw it live
Right.
in Ireland.
Right.
But I always remember seeing that at the beginning of WWE VHS tapes.
Will Vince be left in the building when it implodes? And this is finally the culmination of the 2004 angle of the limo exploding.
Could be. It could be. And then they bring back Mr. Kennedy.
And then they bring back Mr. Kennedy, of course. Yes.
I'll come back also given.
But with the dark side of the ring being out there and people getting more interested in the Chris Benoit story, could this be the WWE's salvation of a storyline that a real-life tragedy prevented? Could this real-life tragedy we're currently enduring give birth to the I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but it sounds brilliant in my head if you go in and you listen to it.
Look, all I'm saying is, when it comes to this, I didn't know what to expect. I fully expected everything to be cancelled by now. And it's not. And the fact we're getting this is like, well, we had talked about last week and the week before that the future of the WWE now seems to be these cinematic matches. And we just thought, hey, WrestleMania would be a good idea to wheel them out. No, they're just going to be big matches. That's how big matches are going to be done, because it is very monotonous to see the performance out there over and over again. To do this, I haven't seen it. It's probably going to be great. They shot it already. There's no reports that it was bad. A few reports that it was very boring to shoot, though, because they had to kind of reset every now and then, but that's just making film and TV. One thing that is interesting is it happened in Connecticut. They have an exemption in Florida, but not in Connecticut. How did that happen? How did that work?
Also, if you're in Florida, you're not supposed to travel to another state right now. Like specifically Florida, because it's the epicenter.
Yeah, you see, that's the bit I'm like, how did you do that? That sounds like you broke a rule, like a massive rule.
But if you're declared an essential worker, like myself, I live in one state, I work in another, but I have papers from the government and my ID that let me cross state borders that say I'm an essential worker and I'm allowed to.
Right. Okay.
So I guess that is how they were able to do. Wow, the timing of this is just...
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
I don't know, man.
And does this also come into what we were talking about last week of Vince coming out? Because I want to know when this deal went down that they were declared essential. Because does this coincide with Vince coming out and saying, "Hey guys, we can do live shows again. Stop the pre-tapes"?
Yeah, it came out around the same time.
So Maybe he got word before it was officially announced. Just throwing speculation out there. Speculation.
All I know is we were looking at 5 weeks pre-tape television, which was fine. And now all of a sudden we're looking at WWE having pay-per-views in their corporate buildings. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I love this though. Why do we love professional wrestling? Because it's an escape from reality. It's a suspension of disbelief, and God bless, I guess. In this
here's
scenario,
the thing.
I'm into it.
But look, it's going to get to the point where reality is going to be less crazy than wrestling. Sorry, you're
right. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, because reality is just more and more bizarre as we're going on, and wrestling is trying to keep up. It seems like at this point, it's just like. Okay. I was having a discussion about, how you kind of talk about conspiracy theories the other day. And the crux of the conversation was you have to let go of saying this is impossible, that's impossible. And you just come up with wackier ideas and you have fun with it. And as long as you stay grounded, it can be a fun brain exercise and all of that. But yeah, once you don't
the sad and weird thing is that sometimes the truth is I have to watch my language, is a lot more screwed up than the conspiracy theories.
To be honest with you, when the craziest conspiracy theory you heard a few years ago was, so far out there that you're like, no way. And then it happens on the news and you're like, what? It's just like, this is ridiculous. So it's like, what is to say that today's conspiracy theory is in the news in the week?
I don't know.
Like, it's unreal. Like, it really is. As I said, I don't know, man.
So wrestling.
I don't know. But look, Well, the thing about this is, right, not only that we had, like, this is the context of what's going on, and that's why these releases were so crazy, right? So
Wow.
what I wanted, like, it was for money, obviously. It was to keep the stock up, obviously. But a lot of these guys on this list, and again, I know we're going around the world with this, but it does make, like, there's so much context in this that's kind of hard not to. A lot of these guys wanted their release, right?
Yes. I didn't mention the revival, but
You
they were
didn't
also
mention the
granted their
revival.
release.
They
And
kind of started this.
yeah.
Because the revival were granted a release, and then like a week later, boom, 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 boom. And they're not done yet. Like, we're not done yet. Like, this could still be more and more and more, right? But here's the thing, right? A lot of these guys wanted their release. A lot of them didn't. But I would say that WWE were given an opportunity here to trim the fat. And
Yes.
not only trim it where it needed to be trimmed, but finally get rid of people who were really bothering them. Now,
Yes.
there's
Yes.
a name missing on this list,
Okay.
but the name is also missing on WWE television. Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is banned from WWE television. Like, you can't mention his name. That's what came out this week.
Wait, what? What
Yeah,
is this? Is
yeah,
this because of his? Because I know Vince is a stickler.
I don't know. But it's because we don't know when he's going to come back. This ongoing situation could go on for a year, 2 years. Hope God not, but it could go on for a great long time, and he's not going to be able to work. So they didn't release him, right? But they also have banned him from television, basically, from being mentioned. So I don't think this was a punishment in that sense of people who refused to work, because obviously Gallows and Anderson are there, and they literally worked. Drake Maverick is there. He worked like 2 weeks ago. He's still working actually for the company in the Cruiserweight Classic. So I wouldn't say it's a punishment in that sense, but a lot of names on this list I wasn't surprised to see. What do you think?
I was not. Well, I'm trying to suck in this Roman Reigns thing. So
Did you not hear that?
because
No,
of the
yeah,
fact that
that's-
he's not able to, I guess he can't fulfill his independent contract because he's got a disability. So
Yeah.
he should still be protected. I don't know how that all works, but okay. So I understand why, but I don't know why you would ban talking about him.
Look, that 100% seems like a Vince thing to me.
I mean, oh my God, they even showed CM Punk during the end of WrestleMania. What?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Who surprises me on this list? Well, we got rid of all the TNA guys that were annoying.
Well, not all the TNA guys, but the saddest one here for me is EC3. As far as as far as him being in WWE and being wasted, it's probably better they got let go because he can actually go off and be good again. I mean, like, the saddest one actually is Drake Maverick, because he was very entertaining, but he can go back. Kurt Angle, I would like Kurt Angle to stick around, but he has 2 contracts. He has a Legends contract, which is still, I think, is still there.
Yeah.
This was his training agent contract. So one thing I will say, right, the trainers and agent here, they've just been furloughed, so they can be brought back, like Lance Storm and stuff like that. They'll all be brought back.
Okay.
The talent itself looked like to be, you're gone. So that's
because
a little different.
That is something you were mentioning earlier on, because correct me if I'm wrong, whenever The Rock, not that he's come back for a match in a while, but whenever The Rock used to come back for a match, wasn't Kurt Hawkins the wrestler that trained him?
Yeah, they were training together down in Florida.
Yeah, so that was kind of what kept him in the company for a while, because he was known as a reliable guy.
But there's a lot of reliable guys here. They're all like good hands. Cassius Ohno, great hand. Eric Young, fantastic little journeyman wrestler, but still sad.
I would say, I mean, we covered my biggest surprises, which is obviously Anderson and Gallows. The thing that upsets me is, well, the timing of this, because in any other normal circumstance, we could look at the list of these wrestlers, and especially those 2 guys, and go, oh, well, they can go back to New Japan in a heartbeat, and they're the biggest thing that promotion has, or AEW will swallow them right up into the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
That's no issue, but they can't do that right now. So
And
these guys don't have an income. I don't know if you get paid for your 90 days you're not allowed to work, or however that works.
So from what I hear, the NXT guys get paid for 30 days, and then they can do what they want.
Okay.
I would assume the WWE guys get paid something, but
you can't tell somebody you can't work for 90 days for competition and then not give them a salary. But we've never
Exactly.
been able to get those contracts out to
see.
understand it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would imagine there's probably something because, WWE lawyers are good, but I wouldn't imagine they're that good where they can't pay them anything just to like you see you're gone.
I mean, they're good enough to keep them out of congressional testimonies of having
That's fair.
having
That's
to be
a fair
accountable for the health care of their employees. But that's neither here nor there. That's one
No.
thing AEW's doing right.
But what I would say is, on that point, right, not only with wrestling, right, so not only could these guys going to go to New Japan or AEW, it's hard to get a job, period,
Right.
like at anything, because everything is closed. Like even if you work in the industry that I'm in, there's a hiring freeze on massive, like very few companies are hiring even in that field because there's a hiring freeze, particularly of external staff. So you're like, wow, man, like what are you going to do? How are, I would hope that a lot of these guys and girls have an income, but like, with Mike and Maria Canellis, they're a married couple and that's both their money just gone. Like,
Right. And it's super easy for us to sit in our chairs here and look at these guys who are making, I mean, even the lower level guys, I can't speak to NXT, but we're talking 100K plus contracts a year. So you're thinking, oh, well, these people must have money saved up. But you also have to factor in the fact that WWE does not pay for the travel in most situations. They don't pay for your food, etc.
Yeah.
So yes, you might say, oh, wow, these guys are making in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, even for a jobber like a Zack Ryder. But that goes down very, very quickly when you're paying for rental cars every week.
If their job was like, look, if they're getting that money working in the performance center, fair, right? You could be like, yeah, and that's probably what WDB are looking at. They're like, listen, we don't need all of these people. Like a lot of these talents were kept solely as like the dragon would keep his treasure, just so no one else can get them, and that's
Right.
kind of what was happening here. But you can't really justify them when the shows aren't running and they're not working, and the only shows that are running they only have time for the bigger talent there. I feel sorry for a lot of these guys here. I think it's horrible. But when stuff does start up again, they will be grabbed up. But
Yes.
and WWE might start going back and doing this kind of predatory contract buying. But then again, they might not. Like we don't know what state the wrestling's going to be like after this. We don't know what state the world's going to be like after this.
This is the most uncertain time of our lives, quite frankly. We don't even know, as we were alluding to earlier, when we'll be out of this lockdown and all this.
Exactly. Like,
this craziness. That must be one of the weirdest things. So let's say you're let's pick a random name off this list. Let's say you're Leo Rush and you just got cut, who, by the way, is an amazing talent, but it'll be better for the WWE in 5 years. But you're under a lockdown in Florida, so you have to stay by your employer and not get paid. And I mean, that must psychologically, I can't imagine what these guys are going through.
Yeah, no, like it's Mike Chioda really sucks. Like that was really upsetting. It's like, he's the longest tenured referee, second longest. Well, Howard Finkel was RIP. Howard Finkel, obviously.
Yes, that's worth mentioning.
Sad.
Very sad.
But at least he wasn't fired. What happened if he would have been fired? One of his going.
That's one of the messed up things about all this is you can't. I don't know how it is in Ireland, but because of the limited amount of people that are allowed to gather together, you're not even allowed to have funerals for people.
Same. It's the same here. It's one of those things, And like, if you die from the virus, you're just never seen again. You're just burned or buried.
It's shocking. It all makes way too much sense. Yeah.
It's dark. It really is.
It really is. But on a lighter note, this means Heath Slater cannot be the final member of 3MB to win the World Heavyweight Championship.
Well, not yet. Not yet. Remember, he has to go through the arc.
Oh, so they were all released.
They were all released, so there's still hope. So what's going to happen is
he's going to. Wow.
Yeah, you don't get. He hasn't done the penance yet.
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
So what's probably going to happen is he's going to be released. He's going to get jacked. He's Probably gonna learn MMA or something,
Yep.
and then go to Impact, go to TNA, go to AEW, and then come back and be like, have the legitimacy of all that, just like Drew, and then complete the prophecy. But he hasn't got there yet. He's not serious yet. You can't take him seriously just yet.
Not yet. There was one time when I thought you could, and that's when he got in the ring with Brock Lesnar a couple years ago. And was like, I got kids, I'm doing it. So I was like, oh my gosh, are they really going through with this?
No.
Are they making Heath Slater legit? Because they could have right then.
Could have, yeah,
isn't
easily.
he a legitimate boxer and whatnot in real life?
He's legitimate, but he doesn't have that legitimacy yet.
No. I know what you're saying in terms of the minds of wrestling fans, but in terms of actual street skills,
he has something. He definitely has something.
Interesting.
So yeah, like I would say maybe give it 3 years.
Okay.
I would expect. I don't think Carl Anderson and Gallows are coming back. I think they're done. I think they're just going to go to Japan. I think that's just it. They probably will go to AEW. I
think they might be the smartest guys in all of this in terms of the way that they. I'm acting like I know these people, but I do pay more attention to them, and it seems like they take care of their money and their families a lot better. They've worked the independent scene. Gallows knows what it's like to get up in the WWE and go out. So I'm hoping that maybe they have a bit more security. And yes, they would be big names in AEW or Japan if we ever open back up.
Another name that I would say is, they're obviously where they're going. Eric Rowan, he's probably just going to go to AEW and join us, join Harper.
Yeah, we were talking about Colts last week. Isn't it so bizarre that they got rid of 2 Colts?
Yeah.
You got rid of the OC and you got rid of the Wyatt Colt? Do we curse them?
I hope not, but I would just say that's what's going on. And the biggest name I think on this is completely that nobody was expecting, but then you should have expected it anyway. Was Rusev.
And you keep Lana.
Yeah.
And you keep Lana.
Lana's over. Yeah. Lana's over. Rusev isn't. And Rusev has done a lot of things to really hurt. Like, I think they've had that out for Rusev for a while, ever since he cut his hair and changed his look.
Yeah, it's been bizarre, and sometimes the WWE will foreshadow where they're going with a guy, which they may have done in this instance, which take a look at Jim Ross, for instance. You'll start to see angles that you're going, these aren't good for these people, and then they end up getting fired. And that's kind of what they've been doing with Rusev in this absolute nonsense with Bobby Lashley and Lana.
Nobody benefit from that.
Nobody
benefit from that. And it's again, like, if it's one of the most heartless things that WWE have ever done, where I know they're a business, so I know people are going to be like, oh, but they need to make money. I'm like, WWE have lots of money, have tons of money.
It's a $1 billion company.
Exactly. They're not hurting for money. AEW, run by a billionaire, but not established. TNA,
and a billionaire whose companies are sporting events for the most part, which aren't operating right now. So.
Exactly. WWE, TNA, not really a thing. No, but like WWE just aren't hurting for money. And now here they're just like, oh, we'll just need to save this, So it's heartless in the sense that in a time when people need it, the money was just taken, the contracts was taken away. So I would say, couple of years down the line, we'll see these guys popping back up, and it'll be fine. But who knows what's going to happen between today and tomorrow? Really.
Is there anybody on this list that you're not sad is gone? Excluding the NXT guys I've never heard of.
EC3.
You're not sad EC3 is gone?
No,
I don't care either.
No, I love EC3. I really do, but they've done nothing with him. He's not sad he's gone. He's happy he's gone, because now he can go off. He can go back to Impact. He can go somewhere else and actually, have something done with him, because I think he had, like, his most time in WWE, he didn't talk, and EC3's whole thing is talking. So
True.
It's like, True. So I'm glad he has the opportunity now to go off and go somewhere else. It sucks for him that, like, if you're most of the guys, I'm not sad they're gone, because there are other places to work, but that's my mind set to normalcy. not this madness. I'm sad for everyone who's
Right.
gone because there's no income for these people.
That's the that's what's I would say. I'm not too upset about No Way Jose. I never connected with him.
Fair.
I never really saw whatever. And I'm gonna be straight up. Mike Bennett or Canales, whatever. Don't care.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it sucks that they just had a kid, obviously. So I feel for them in terms of the family and whatnot. But Maria deserved to get released.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why.
Go on, go for it.
One of the greatest themes in the history of professional wrestling is Legs Like That by Zebrahead, which was eventually given to Maria. And upon her return, they did not give her that theme back. So I lost all interest in seeing her on my screen. Now, granted,
fair.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
And you connect with people like that, like Zack Ryder. Do I like Zack Ryder the wrestler? No, I like his theme song. But with Maria, I mean, that Zebrahead song was on all of my mixtapes, or for the younger kids, that's CDs, whatever. The point is, it was on all of that stuff, and it crushed me. I mean, I know we're talking about a woman who, granted, her prime was like 2007 when she had her Playboy model, which we don't even do in the WWE anymore.
Yeah, it's well past her sell-by date. Like, to be fair, most of the people on this list,
are we terrible people for saying that? Are we typical online jacks?
No, I don't think so. I'm like, as a worker, she didn't wrestle, so it's just like, as a valet, it's like, okay, but you were better elsewhere. And in WWE, you're outshined by pretty much everyone. So I'm like, okay. And I like her. I think she's, she has her forte, but it's just not in the WWE. Like, I will have to say, a lot of these guys, well, the main thing that will be hurt by this is the 24/7 title. That's where most of these people have been working.
That is where most. Maybe they just went down that list.
Yeah, it's just like.
And R-Truth was like, "I'm the champ. You can't get rid of me." Or,
exactly.
He's the champ right now, but yeah.
I did order a DVD actually. I finally got around to watching the DVD that the folks out in Fremantle Media sent me, the Best of the Hardcore Championship, and I only have the second disc, so I actually bought the Blu-ray there.
Yes.
So I'll review that when it arrives. It's a really fun little documentary, but it's the same kind of thing. I think in about 10, 20 years, there's going to be a footnote in the network saying 24/7 title. Here's what they've done, and it's scary when you watch. Even the second disc that talks about what happened after the invasion angle, everyone who was cut was in that division. So that's the division you kind of want to get out of, right? And
what are they going to do with the Where Are They Nows?
Yeah, it's
they'll have an entire section for.
Exactly.
I will say what I don't understand in all of this is, why does Alicia Fox still have a job?
I never knew why she had a job. She's terrible.
And this is a completely true story for those who don't know it. This is how she got her job. John Laurinaitis was going through a catalog, pointed to a model, and said, let's see if we can teach her how to wrestle. In all of those years, sans for about 4 weeks in 2017, when she had this crazy angle that she did around the ring, she's useless. She's not a good wrestler. She does one move, which infuriatingly is one of my favorite moves in all of professional wrestling, which is a bridging Northern Lights suplex. But other than that, I don't get it. I've never gotten her. I'm not going to say it, but it's annoying to me that certain people get cut and she's still there.
Well, look, JTG had a job for like 6 or 7 years, and he wrote a book about how he was just there and nobody ever realized he was still there until they just cut him. So I guess it's just, whoever's in I think the mix is to be whoever, like, don't be noticed, but be noticed just enough. That's kind of, how to say survive in the WWE, it seems. But
one of my favorite tweets from a wrestler of all time was the day JTG was released, and all he tweeted was something along the lines of, damn, why'd I answer my phone?
Well, what I will say is, the only match I've ever left in person, because I couldn't stand it anymore, was an Alicia Fox match. I was like, I have to go. And I went out and walked around the arena. This is when I was in Manchester. Me and Gary were watching SmackDown taping, I think. I'm like, I have to go. She's so bad, it offends me. So I got up and left. I was like, I made a better decision. But look, what I will say is, right, so Money in the Bank is coming up May 9th, I think. I'm not exactly sure when it is. It's sometime in May. But so far, the match is announced. The men's Money in the Bank, May 10th. So men's Money in the Bank, women's Money in the Bank, Universal Championship, Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. They haven't called him the Fiend yet, so that's going to be weird if it's not the Fiend.
If it's not the Fiend, then I guess it means he loses. Are we doing a Finn Balor
demon thing?
type
That's what I thought.
aspect?
Like, I haven't, like, on SmackDown, they're just saying it's Bray Wyatt, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then there's a SmackDown Women's Championship match of Bayley versus Tamina, which actually might be the sleeper of the whole night, to be fair, from a wrestling standpoint, because that feud has been pretty decent so far. But yeah, look, guys, if you're listening, email us, nerdslowmedia@gmail.com, with your predictions, what you've thought, if you want to weigh in on what we've talked about today. Thanks for the people who joined us on Twitch live. Nerd Ducks is the way you can join us, or Nerd Slow Media on Twitch. Dave, is there anything you want to plug before we wrap up here, sir?
No, not at all. Just please go watch Dark Side of the Ring so you know what we're talking about next week. I think that'll be a fun show because there's definitely some things I want to get into. And I'm just looking at this, and I wanted to believe you were making it up, Derek, but you're completely honest. A new corporate ladder gimmick was added in which participants must travel. It itself is suspended above a ring on the roof.
Yeah, I can't make it up. Can't make it up. It's too unbelievable. You can't make it up. But yeah, like, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Next week, guys, do check out Dark Side of the Ring. Get your thoughts in as well. Nerd Snow Media is where you can check us. Everything we're doing out. We have a bunch of shows. I did a wrestling show here in Ireland. That's going to go up on our YouTube feed after it's posted. So check it out there. But from Dave, myself, and everyone at Nerd Snow Media, we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.